Hello and welcome back to the pursuit of myself. Holy shivers, shit balls, whatever you want to say. It's been a freaking week. I've literally come off the back of 3 migraine after migraine. Wow. I hadn't had them since I was pregnant, which my baby's 13. So it's been a ride, a really wild ride. Even still nursing a dull headache today. And, through this time, I've been really thinking about my identity work. Who am I? The fact that we have to just there we go, I do it again. I have this identity where we just push through, we suck it up, we get on with it, because we do have expectations, responsibilities, especially as a single parent. All the things that we quote unquote have to do or are expected of us. And when we fall down, it really highlights, one, who is there to help you to pick up the pieces? A lot of us have no one. A lot of us have someone, but that will be a complete reflection of what you allowed in your life also. And a lot of the times we, for some reason, hold this armor of I've got to do it myself. And I did that for years. I was starting to go downhill. I could feel that coming back. I could feel that starting to creep back into my psyche. So it was really, really important for me in this identity shift of being supported and feeling like I have people there for me, that I allowed people to support me. Now, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Am I still feeling the hangover of disappointment and feeling unnurtured? Yes. Am I still feeling like it was just easier just to get on with it and keep working, feeling so ill? Yes. I still thinking that I can do things better next time? Yes, all these things. But the way that I look at life is a constant opportunity of growth. And I know that that can feel really exhausting sometimes when everything that happened to us is a gift and a lesson and a reason and a growth opportunity, but it really, really is. I mean, if I defaulted back into I just have to do everything, and I'm the only person, I'll do it myself, and that is not going to help me grow into the identity that is holding more space for more people, for more money, for more travel, for more time freedom, for more, all the things that I'm asking. That mentality identity is not going to get me there. So this is the identity work that we speak of. This is the identity work of stepping into the person that you need to be to have what it is that you want. Is the person Rain, who is running her multi-million-dollar empire, when she falls down, is she just going, God, I'll just do it myself and I've got no support and nobody loves me and nobody gives a shit? Or has she got people that she asks because she's wants to absolutely continue moving and continue working, but maybe not directly herself, but she's delegating. She's asking for support. She's allowing people to come in and nurture her. This is the identity work. How do we hold space for who we are becoming or who we need to be to have what we want consistently and in all different scenarios? Not just when things are good, but when things are tough. How do we hold that? And it's been a real, a learning curve. There's nothing that has been perfect about it, but I've definitely made progress. As I said, I still feel certain people in my life, that I reached out to, really, I feel let down. I feel ignored, and I feel disappointed, I think is the right word. I really feel disappointed. And I've also made peace with that. I haven't made it okay, but I have made peace with my feelings because they're my emotional state. They're my emotional feeling. Could I have reached out again? Yes. What did I do? I sat there and I was like, I did it once. I'm disappointed. I'm not doing that again. Right? Could I have done things? Yes, I could have. Again, if I really wanted that support, why wouldn't I just reach out again? Why wouldn't I say, hey, I told you or this, or I let you in on this and I feel really disappointed that you haven't followed up? There's lots of things that we can do. We can't just consistently throw the responsibility at other people. That is the beauty about taking real emotional responsibility for ourselves without blame. My emotional state was, I reached out once, I got disappointed, and I stopped. I could have done it again. Now, I know all the memes and everything's don't chase what's meant for you, don't do that. But also, when we are feeling like something and we are upgrading our identity, it's not a one and done. This is continually chipping away and increasing our capacity to hold the identity that we need to have what we want. This is not a one and done give up. And especially if I've been that strong superwoman for so many years, right? So many years, they might take time to adjust. They might take me asking a couple more times. We do go into our houses. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got their own life. That was my head. That was my excuse for not reaching out again. But again, I'm learning, I'm evolving, and I'll do it differently next time. And I'll even ask for more support as I'm growing and really see if I can just one up myself. But, caveat here, I actually never, ever, ever fall down and get ill. So this was probably an opportunity that's not going to come in this type of clothing again. It'll come in an other way, but I'll meet it. I'll do better. Mummy. But I know it is all here for my growth. I'm shedding something. I'm moving into something new. I'm not spiritually bypassing. This is shit. This has been really, really hard. This has been really, really lonely. And now I get to start using this space that's made inside of me, this space of, okay, we're on the mend. What direction are we taking? This space of, okay, you can ask for help. This space, I've created space now, more capacity to grow into this next level. So I'm really looking forward to this next phase. Bring it on. Show me what's possible. Show me how easy this gets to be. Show me how to make more money. Show me how to create something that the world is just all over and be like, fuck yes, thank you, Rain, for creating this. I needed this in my life. That's this next level. So let's get on with this episode. Welcome to the Pursuit of Myself, the podcast. Here we take ownership of our healing. We rewrite the rules, we turn knowledge into wisdom, and we lead our lives with intention. I'm your host, Rain, and it's my mission to empower you to get back into the driver's seat of your life. So today I want to tell you a bit of a story about a decision I made maybe 6 years ago. And it was one of the scariest decisions I ever made. You may not think it's scary, but for me, it was one of the biggest decisions I ever made. It was throwing me out of my comfort zone, out of my nervous system, like beyond, right? So it was a lot of deep breathing. And I can honestly say, though, that my current self is still so obsessed with that decision that I made and so deeply grateful that I was able to stand on that edge, see all my reasons, excuses, and still step in, because it really did change everything. And I know that there is decisions in your life that are sitting in front of you right now. And I know that there are hard things that are being called for you to do, and maybe for some time. And I want to talk to you today about why you're struggling to make the decision and what's actually it's costing you that you're not. Because when you really sit back, I'm going to go a bit of maths here and do a bit of calculation as to what the actual cost is. You won't wait another second to actually make that decision that you know will change your life. So let me take you back. 5 years ago, I was really, really pushing shit uphill, like every single day. I was, we talk about survival mode. I was like survival plus. I was like everything. I was trying to hold it together on the outside. I was trying to hold it together with my health. I was trying to hold it together with a roof over my head. With my finances, I was trying to hold it together. I had no idea. I'd chopped and changed about 4 or 5 careers. I was trying to hold it together for, at that time, what was that? Like a 5, 7, and 9-year-old. I was trying to hold it, still healing from my divorce. Like everything was like pushing shit uphill, right? And I feel like in my mind, there was like some invisible finish line where it's like, if I finally get to that point, I'd feel like I'd be good. I was absolutely hustling my way to this invisible finish line where I was like, if I get there, I can finally feel like I'm worthy. I can finally feel like I can show up confidently, proudly, and be like, okay, this is where I am, and this is what I've been doing, and this is what I've been building. But I was doing it all completely alone, because I honestly felt like there was no one else out there that would understand what I was going through. No one that could understand my vision. No one could understand what I was building or why I was doing it. And when you feel so alone and isolated in your process, you start hiding. It's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to stay consistent, because it's almost like you don't want anyone to know, because you don't want anyone to have a voice, have an opinion on anything that you're doing. Because there's two ways that happens. We can come from like low self-worth, low confidence. You don't even believe in what you're doing. Or the other one is, I don't want the opinions. I believe so deeply in what I'm doing. I just want to just work on this and come up and show everyone when it's done, right? But when it came to my world that had changed so much from, hospitality, finance, property to energy, Reiki, identity, founding businesses, entrepreneurship, I knew that there was a lot of judgment, and I knew that there was a lot of maybe confusion, or there was a definite resentment for me for leaving my marriage. But there was a lot of like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, what is this thing that she's doing? And I didn't need that noise. But what happened instead of not needing that noise is I isolated myself. And that was part of it, right? The strength that I thought I had soloing it actually just prolonged everything for so much longer, because I hid until I thought I was ready. When I made it, I would be safe. And that was the cost. The cost was not collapsing time. The cost was dragging everything out for years, trying to do it myself, feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, not knowing who I could turn to or talk to, putting on a mask every time I was out with everyone, thinking, yeah, I'm great, I'm fine, everything's good. So the hustle went on and the hustle went on. And if you can feel this, because I know some of you are in this right now, you're doing the work, you're showing up, but you're doing it quietly, invisibly, like you're the only one in the world doing it. Maybe you're super busy. I was like, 5 a.m. in the morning till midnight. It's hard. It's hard, but you are hiding behind the busy. You're not hiding behind being productive and organized and actually getting shit done. You're hiding behind the busy, and the busy just compounds and compounds and compounds. And the busyness is the reason and the excuse you stay exactly where you are. And I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with this. What is the cost of waiting until you've actually made it to be seen? And we always talk about costs, because here's what I know that I couldn't see then. The waiting and the hiding isn't humility. It wasn't strategy. It was the identity I was operating on. The identity was the victim single mum trying to put her life back together, not the embodied leader building a business to transform women's lives. They're two completely different women. And the only one that gets results, well, hint, hint, is not the victim single mum. Now, I really, really highlight this because what I see is when you are in it, it is hard. But what happens is if you're in it as that victim single mum or whatever identity you have, but you need to embody the leader building a business to transform women's lives identity, just the thought of that is really scary. Right? The thought of actually becoming that person is really scary, because you have to give up your old identity. You have to give up the way that you move, the way that you work as the victim single mum. I'm talking about me again, put your own identity in it, right? You have to give her up so that the other one can actually shine and live. So instead of giving her up, we stay so busy. We stay in survival. We stay with no extra hours in the day. We stay worn out. We stay hustling. We stay seeking validation. We stay in the realm of I am not ready yet. It is not my time yet, right? And I can guarantee you it is because you don't know how to step into the identity that's actually going to get you what you are working towards. That is the piece. Now, about that many years ago, 5, 6 years ago, I said, someone invited me on a retreat. And every single part of me wanted to say no to the money, because it was, money. I was working hard. I was a single mum. No to the time away from kids. Who can support me? No one can support me. I can do it. It was a 5-day retreat as well. Oh my gosh. No to the idea of being in a room with other people on this path, because what about if I was seen by them? What about if they knew who I really was, right? What would happen? And it felt so dangerous in a way that I couldn't even explain at the time. I told myself all the practical things and reasons. It wasn't the timing wasn't right. My kids are too young. I don't have the money to spend on that. They need me. I don't have any support. But here's the truth. And this is the part I want you to really, really hear. I had been the one keeping myself invisible in my life, invisible on this path, invisible in my business. And walking into that room meant that I couldn't hide behind my busyness anymore. It meant being witnessed and seen, right? It meant being seen in a version of me that I hadn't curated, but the one I had been hiding away. And that was fucking terrifying. Really, really terrifying. So on a whim, this beautiful man, Alex, he gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse. And I said, fuck, okay, yes, right? That one scary, expensive, inconvenient retreat, days, terrifying. Yes, this is the reason I'm sitting here and talking to you today. Because here's what happened when I actually went. I remember walking in and having this like complete release before I'd even like stepped 2 feet into the door. I think it was 1 foot. And I just cried and I just cried and I cried. And I'm like, it's just like, there was something about walking into a room and taking your armor off that I hadn't felt maybe ever in my life, right? Maybe ever. And the first thing I realized when I looked up and looked at all these different faces is that I wasn't alone. I was like, wow, there are other people that think like me, that walk like me, that talk like me, that, you know, it was really beautiful and connecting. I hadn't experienced that before. And I know it sounds simple, but for someone who's been white knuckling their life in isolation for years, it just cracked something open in me that I could not have reached alone. And the isolation wasn't actually my strength. It was the cost. It was the cost. And the isolation wasn't strength. It wasn't the cost of the path. It was my block. It was my identity keeping me small and me calling it independence because I had been so deep in the work that I hadn't let anyone witness me doing it. In fact, people witnessing me doing it was freaking scary, right? And this is the teaching here. We can go and do as much as we can on our own, but the real work comes when you're bringing your identity into the real world. That's when the real mirror comes. It's the same when you get into a relationship. That's the mirror. It's the same when you start a business. That's the mirror. It's the same when you have children. That's your mirror. You can do all the work you want on your own, but if you don't bring it into the world, then you can't be witnessed and you can't actually be living in that authenticity because it's easy to live in authenticity in isolation. And you cannot upgrade your identity yourself from inside the same walls you've been living in, right? That's it. When you upgrade your identity inside the walls, well, you can, but then what? That's not the real world. You can't live there forever, right? And the gap between and the version of you that is stuck right now, she built those walls and she knows every single corner in that room. She knows every little trigger, every little judgment, every little niggle, and she's incredibly comfortable navigating that. But she will keep you there because that's where the comfortable it is. And that's where the limit of what you can see is what you can create is exactly where you're standing. That gap between where you are and where you know you're supposed to be or where you want to be. It's not a knowledge gap. You're not going to read your way through that. It's not a strategy gap. It's not a timing gap, right? It's an identity gap. You cannot think your way out of an identity gap. You cannot read your way out of it. You cannot hustle your way out. You need a room that is going to give you a mirror. You need to be witnessed. You need to be guided. You need to be held by someone who can see what you can't. This is why I still have coaches and get in rooms to this day. And that's what changed for me. I got home from that first retreat and I stopped shrinking. Did I shrink again? Yeah, there were times that I did. But I also know that this wasn't a real retreat. This was an identity upgrade. This was 5 days of breakdown and breakthrough and identity work. This wasn't the fluffy, let's go and have a massage and have an ice bath. I mean, yes, that was all involved, but there was deep identity work during the day. What are my deepest fears? What do I really want? Where are my self-sabotaging loops? What do I keep defaulting to? Why do I keep hiding? Why do I not ask for support? This is the identity work that I needed to actually be able to grow into the woman that is building and creating what she is today. And we do need a shake-up. We need a circuit breaker. And that is what changed for me. That was the shake-up. And then I was able to carry that out. I went live on Instagram for the first time and I announced me and what I was doing, and I allowed myself to be seen. I stopped performing that safe version of myself that I had been performing for so many years. And I started stepping into the one that needed to lead me forward, because the victim single mom, the one that hid, the one that had that beautiful identity behind closed doors, she was not going to lead me to where I wanted to go. And I needed to get her up, out, and into my life. And this wasn't because I had learned something new at this retreat. This wasn't because I had all the self-care. This is because I became someone that I knew I needed to be. in order to have what I want. I broke down my walls. I broke down my self-sabotaging loops. I faced my fears and I stepped into that woman loudly and proudly. And that's when my life changed forever. And, this actually brings me to why I'm telling you this story. It is the inspiration behind why I created She Evolves. I created her from this inside this experience, because every single room that I've sat in, every retreat, every identity upgrade, every coach I've worked with, every reset that I've done, every mentor I witnessed, like every version of myself I've had to let die so that a bigger one could lead. And that is why I created her. She Evolves is my 3-day event, which is a small room by the beach. So we do have the self-care. And my method, the one I've spent years developing, refining, and living inside. And I want to tell you what it actually does, because I don't want to get this confused with the retreat. Not what it teaches, but what it actually does. First, we have the circuit breaker. And this is the pattern you're in right now. The spinning, the gathering information, the almost ready, the someday, the when I have more time. That pattern has a groove and your nervous system knows it. But your identity is protecting that, because that's what it knows. And 3 days in this room interrupts that at the root. Not by giving you more information, but I shake you up and shift the identity that's running the pattern. Then this is the room that you've been missing, because the isolation that you've been living in, trying to do it all yourself, right? I've lived it and I know what it's costing you. You might be able to put on a mask and go and put it on with your family and your friends, but then you go back in your world of isolation as you're building and you feel like you have to be there, and that's the only place you can build. And She Evolves puts you in a room with a mentor, me, who can see your blind spots, who can call you out of your BS, and the ones that you cannot see from inside your own story, because it is so hard to see your own blind spots. I know this. I'm living proof of this. But what this room also does is it gives you a community of women that are on this path, who will witness you, hold you, and expand with you. That was the most powerful thing of those 5 or 6 days. Being lifted up constantly, continuously, consecutively by people that see you in your bigness and your greatness and your aliveness. You are not meant to do this alone. And these 3 days will show you what becomes possible when you stop trying to, and what will take you years to figure out alone, the blocks, the identity shifts, the self-sabotaging loops, the nervous system rewiring. We do this in 3 days. And not because it's a shortcut, but because the right room with the right method accelerates everything. Hours together for 3 days, right? Hours. This is how we accelerate, and this is how we jump timelines to our wealthiest, most abundant timeline. This is how we absolutely collapse our goals and go for them with absolute precision, focus, and certainty. So this is for the coach, the mentor. This is for the woman that's done the reading, the woman who knows she's in a pattern that she can't break, the one who's taken the courses and is still not where you're supposed to be. And if that is you, the gap is not a strategy problem. I want to tattoo that on my forehead. Your gap is not a strategy problem. It's an identity problem. And 3 days in this room will show you exactly where. And I want to say one more thing before I go. All those years ago, I almost said no to the room that really did change my life. And I think about that sometimes. I think about the woman I would still be if I'd let that fear win that decision. If I'd let the money, the kids, the timing talk me out of the most important yes that I ever said. And I think about you listening to this podcast, and I think about the woman who knows that this is the next thing, that She Evolves is this room, that the only thing between her and that the life that she keeps describing is the decision that she keeps almost making, right? Don't almost make this decision. Make a way out of no way. Instead of defaulting to making reasons and excuses why you can't, have a look at the reasons and excuses of how you possibly could. I've got women thinking at the moment of flying in for this event. It is going to be life-changing. This is going to be the yes that changes your lives forever. Tickets are selling fast because it's really reasonably priced. If you're in Perth, it's 9 till 2 or 3, so you can still pick the kids up from school. It is an app. I've made this first one an absolute no-brainer for you to be able to say yes, right? 3 days with me, a small room. your whole identity on the table. This is your invitation to your next level. DM me the word evolve on Instagram. I will personally get back to you with everything that you need to know. I cannot wait to see you in this room. It really, really is time to evolve, and we are going to do this together. I can't wait. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next week.